Hello, the Keen Witch here with another info dump about channeling spirits. So, I was asked to post about this by someone who follows me, and so I'm going to do a video on it. The reason I call these info dumps is because I do not pre plan them. I do not do well with pre planned stuff. I overthink it, it's not authentic to me. I'm also dyslexic, so writing stuff down is hard, especially when I'm tired, which I always am. I'm chronically ill. So these are just kind of free flowing thoughts. All of these things are my opinions and my experience and my values. I want to be clear with channeling that channeling appears and arrives in everyone's life in a different way if you end up channeling either for yourself or for others, which is the most popular because it is difficult to channel for oneself. It is nice to use an actual channel instead of using ourselves as the container for our own personal stuff, which is why I always advise people to go to channels for help if they need to talk to a spirit that isn't maybe easy to access or they just know they need to outsource. Um, Channeling to me is just basically being a mouthpiece for a spirit through the lens of your experience. Um, I know people who channel a variety of different spirits. Um, I started out predominantly channeling spirit babies, and I still do that. And you can look at my previous videos about spirit babies to learn something more or new about that. Um, so there's that. And in the past year, I've also started channeling for other spirits. And I think to kind of give you some insight, I'm just going to talk about my experience. Like I said, channeling and psychic gifting is a really kind of unique and dynamic thing. So I do feel strongly that I could probably help guide or direct someone into ways to become someone who channels a medium, a psychic medium. Um, but it's not going to work for everyone. I just want to be clear that there's not like a one size fits all for channeling. And some people are born like being natural, pre opened channels. And some people come to it later on in life. Some people will experience something big or traumatic or just triggering or exciting, and that opens up the channel. And some people, like me, know that they need to channel, don't know how to, and pursue it so hard that spirit is like, of course, now you can channel because this is what you're meant to do. And the real key, I think, for me and my specific natal chart was that I needed that desire to channel in order for those doors to open. Also, really important. I think people don't think about this a lot. If you're raised in a religious home and are prayed over a lot, it absolutely can shut some stuff down. And that definitely happened to me. And I had to do some work to unlock those things. But I want to talk about how it feels to channel, um, how I specifically channel. If you have channeling experience, I would love for you to weigh in on what your experience is channeling, who you work with channeling, because how my channeling works is I have spirit groups who help me channel. And I think the most important part of channeling is the ability to separate from oneself, not disassociate, not leave one's body, but to see oneself as an actual vessel for the work rather than someone with a set skill, set, I can't even describe, set list of skills and talents. Like, I am talented in many ways. I'm super intuitive. I'm very empathetic. I think all of these things make me a good channel, but they aren't the reason I'm a good channel. They're just bonuses. It's the openness. It is the willingness to believe and say the things, even though, and even now, after I've channeled for a while, someone asked me to channel recently, and I saw the person they wanted me to channel for, so I know I needed to read, and I knew that they were a Cancer. And instead of being like, oh, was your family member a Cancer? I was like, I'm going to wait for confirmation. So there is still doubt, and there is still kind of a struggle to exist in the physical where people look at me cross-eyed when they hear I'm a psychic medium and a witch, and to fully trust. And I think it's actually good to have a level of questioning constantly because it's not healthy to lose your footing. I do believe in spiritual psychosis, so it's healthy to hold on. And I've met people who think I'm in spiritual psychosis because I talk to spirits, but I don't have the erratic behavior and the self-harm that happens in or harm to others that often happens in spiritual psychosis, which is why I feel fine. So I think, like I said, the most important thing is that ability to be open. It doesn't mean that you don't have a personality. It doesn't mean that you don't have opinions and you don't bring your full self to it, but it means that the stuff that you do doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the people who are receiving it, and very specifically to the spirits, even more so than your client, to the spirits who are asking you to channel for them, um, and to the guides and the spirits that are helping you channel and have created the safe space for channeling. Now, I know not everyone who channels needs spirit groups, at least from what I've heard. I don't do well alone. And I know this about myself. I know that I need extra protection because what more can I say? I'm a tasty cosmic snack. And I have had run in with spirits who want to use me, maybe not for a channel, but for an energy source, and it's not good. So it is important and essential for me to work with other spirits who have good intentions to protect me because I am unfortunately naive and gullible sometimes, which also makes me a good channel, but can open me up to some not great um, deities. I will say, not deities, wrong word. Deities aren't in this class, spirits. Um, I will say I don't have full confirmation of this, but a lot of the people I know who have run ins with not great spirits, especially on a journey to try to open up things, tend to be Virgos. A lot of Virgo placements, it is that kind of spider web interconnection. We are very appealing. It doesn't make us better than anyone else. It just means that we're really functional and people slash beings from beyond enjoy that about us. I don't think it's always true. I do find that, on the opposite end of the spectrum, a lot of the Pisces that I know don't need as much psychic support as Virgos. Now, if you're a Pisces and you feel like you need it, please do not take this as like, oh, I'm not going to use psychic support anymore. I think it's always better to work with spirits who have goals and purposes. I'm going to kind of roughly go through who I work with personally. I think this is very unique to who you are. I will also tell you a fun way that I laughed at originally that actually really helps me discern what spirits are safe to work with. And it actually came through my Reiki training. Um, I learned Reiki through a more unconventional teacher, definitely not traditional. Um, and they were the friend who attuned me learned from, and something that they sent their students on their way with was when they encountered spirits and beings that they weren't sure of to ask them if they were pristine light. And that has saved my ass so many times. Because if the spirit you're talking to, it's different, channeling is different from talking to spirits. Say that. Channeling is way different from talking to spirits. So I can talk to spirits directly, and I'm not channeling. I will go into that in a second. But the amount of spirits I've been talking to and been like, this doesn't feel right. Let me check. I ask, are you pristine light? Either they say no, or are you insane? Or they pause long enough to lie. And you can tell when it's the wheels are turning, they're trying to be sneaky. And then you just say, no, I'm not talking to you because I personally can't work with it. Once again, caveat, I have known chaos witches who work fine with questionable spirits who want a snack. And I know witches who are willing to be a snack as a trade. I'm not built for that. So, once again, if you are made of tough stuff or are a chaos person, you are probably more fine working with questionable spirits. And there is a place to work with questionable spirits. I'm just I'm just too cinnamon roll to do that. Um just too sugary and delicate. Like I said, I know chaos witches who work fine with trickster gods and trickster deities and demons and spirits, not me. So that's kind of like my first thing. Make sure you're working with appropriate spirit groups. If you don't have to work with spirit groups, you don't have to work with them. I'm explaining to you how I do it. So I have a variety of spirit groups. The Reiki spirits are one set of groups. They're very neutral. They really only care about Reiki, and my Reiki guides specifically only care about past life stuff. And they'll answer questions about other topics, but they're clearly not interested, and it's very yes and no. So how I channel in my karmic remediation sessions is through Reiki guides. They open that up. And then I have a second level of spirits who do the other function, which is giving me um, the images for past life work, and those are the gods of karma. That's the name I was introduced to them with. I'm sure they show up in different things, but they are a group of powerful spirits. Once again, very neutral, not a whole lot of emotion, but very focused on the rectification of human past lives. Just how Reiki spirits are very focused on the Reiki energy and the healing through Reiki. That's their focus. And so nothing else really is important to them whatsoever. Then my other set of channeling guides are the spirit baby angels. Um, I work with two specifically. I'll keep the names to myself. I find that when I work with spirits, I can give like the general identifier like angel, lords of karma, Reiki guides, but I don't give names. I just find it's a form of respect and it's our personal relationship. Um, so I work with them for the spirit babies, and the lords of karma are also involved because they help open up the way for the spirit babies to give me past life information as well. So you can see how this all kind of they all kind of work together. My guides, but I didn't meet them all at once. Um, I met the Reiki guides first, and kind of at the same time, the Lords of Karma, but I wasn't told that they were working together. And I don't think they work together as in like they, sit around the water cooler and talk. They have different functions and they fulfill them because that's how they're set up. Same with the spirit baby angels. They were not connected to the Lords of Karma, even though I know the Lords of Karma give me the information I need while in a session. Um, and like I said, not water cooler vibes, but they are aware of each other. Excuse me. And then I have I only channel ever so often for the dead. Um, and those who have passed on, who technically are just spirits, like spirit babies who are reincarnating eventually, but they're at a different stage of reincarnation and also are a shadow of the person who has passed that is left behind for the people that have been left behind. Um, they can also reincarnate while I'm still talking to them. It's a whole thing, and I don't even fully understand it, so neither do you. You don't need to either. Um, and very recently, I was like, I feel like I need more support if I'm going to keep doing this. And I had a spirit step forward who wants to be involved, and I double checked their credentials as far as I can. And they are going to help me channel the dead. And I had no idea that was something I was supposed to do, but it's something I'm going to have to start offering more and more. And it probably will stop being case by case. And I'll just do what is brought to me. Um, So your situation doesn't have to be as complicated. I have the South Node in Gemini in my 10th house, which you don't understand astrology, that's also fine. But it means that I am just destined to, in kind of a legacy sense, work with a lot of different kinds of energy and all very chaotic and also convoluted. So this is just my specific path. If you have a different south node, if you have different north node, if you have a different house, it's in a different house, those mean different things to you. But I do really think the nodes have a lot to do with channeling and how you channel, so always check that out. And if you're ever actually directly curious, I offer a reading that can help you figure that out. It's my astral expansion reading, um, which is where I take your birth chart, do some calculations, and then we talk about how to get you opened up for this type of work or whatever work you want to do. Um, any hoozle, back to the channeling. Um, so that's kind of how I have support to do it, where I get the power and the energy. I'm also a really highly energetic person. So I do have a lot of energy to put different places. Is it finite? Yes. Am I always aware of how finite it is? No. So I do have to be careful with my energy. Something that's really important is a level of spiritual hygiene. I have ADHD, so no, it's not consistent, but it is there. And that's what's important. Um, I do aura healings on myself. I've kind of fallen off, but I do Reiki healings on myself. I am very selective about the energies I come in contact with. The minute anymore that I encounter an energy that is black or dark, I zap it with some Reiki. Um, and I refuse to deal with it. Um, one of the spirits who came to talk about working with the dead, helped me get rid of something as kind of like a let me show you I'm sincere moment. So I am very conscious now. I don't entertain dark spirits anymore like I used to out of curiosity. Also, in order to start working with spirit babies, and I think this also was important for all the other work I do, I had to stop intentionally astrally traveling. Now, had it ever gone well? No, but I was astrally traveling through different realms. If you know about like the jinn or anything, I was like actually reaching different worlds. Um, and I was not ending up in good places. I'll just say that. I always ended up in really scary spots. And so, as a part of my commitment to channeling, specifically for spirit babies, but now for all spirits, now that I kind of understand that in retrospect, um, I can no longer astrally travel. Like I said, this doesn't have to apply to you, but if you are going to seriously channel and you are channeling for maybe more delicate spirits and souls, you might want to consider committing to that. And if you are at a block, it might be your spirits and guides waiting for you to commit to not doing unhinged magical things, like I was doing. Um, and it was mostly because I was kind of like throwing rocks at a wall I couldn't get over because I didn't know how to get through the other side yet, and the guides hadn't shown up yet. Um, it was also very tied for me to the Aries Libra axis of the eclipses. A lot of the work I did happened during eclipse season. Um, it's not a surprise that I had this spirit interaction about channeling in a bigger way between an Aries and Libra lunation. So that's positive. But yeah, that's kind of how I work. That's how I select stuff. I also know I go all over the place, guys. If you're ADHD or autistic, you may follow me better than some. And if not, maybe you're just a kooky person who enjoys this vibe. Um, so those are kind of the groups I work with. Um, all of them were a surprise. None of them did I imagine. Also, before I worked with the Spirit Baby Angels, as someone who was raised in conservative Christianity, I was like, angels, never heard of them. And then they showed up and told me they were angels, and I was like, okay, got it. Proven wrong yet again. And I would be clear, these angels are, while they use traditional names, because a lot of spirits will use the human names they have been given, their angels aren't one to one directly related to Christianity. Angels exist in every single popular religion, or large religion. They exist in multiple spiritual paths. They take different forms. They are distinctly different from demons. I have met demons. I've met fairly neutral demons too. Demons aren't always bad. I find that demons are just rarely looking out for your best interest. They're very much looking out for theirs. And maybe that doesn't hurt you, and maybe it does. That's kind of my opinion on demons. They're just not going to sacrifice themselves for you like an angel might. An angel is more concerned with the well being of mankind, and demons are more concerned with their own well being, which I can't fault them for, and I don't think is a problem. And I'm sure the angels are also doing what's best for them in the long run. Anyways, so that's how I channel. I personally need support. I work better with the guidance. It helps me to check in. It also makes me, also makes me a better channel, a more expanded, safer channel, in my opinion, to have all of these guides because I am not, with their support, I am less influenced by my own experiences. And while my experiences are incredibly helpful for this, it keeps me from feeling responsible and burdened by the information that I hear because a lot of it is really heavy and really hard. And so having the support of other spirits holding that space releases pressure off of me and allows me to be more energetically expansive, to tell more stories, to be more helpful to my clients and to the spirits who come to me. Because it's not just about the client. The client is usually coming because the spirit has requested them to come in some way. And so, interestingly enough, I'm almost, even though I'm paid by the client, I'm more obligated to the spirit because they are the ones who started the process and they are the ones who needs to talk officially. Doesn't mean my client's not important, doesn't mean I don't care about them and protect them, but it does mean that I feel very obligated to the spirit who comes to me. And in my experience as a channeler, a lot of times the spirits come to me months, weeks, even at this point, years, I still have spirits waiting for other people to show up, um, for that person to be ready to come. And they're like, hey, you, they're going to be ready eventually. Buckle up. And I'm like, I appreciate the knowledge, but also I can't do anything ethically until this person comes to me. So yeah. Anyway, as far as like how I feel when I channel, I genuinely feel like a channel. I feel not like I feel emotions in channeling and I will cry and I will not in front of my clients. I if I can help it. Um, Especially if I'm doing a Reiki session, they're prone on the ground and cannot see my face. Um, I often cry. If it's important, I will tell them because that kind of clues them into how intense um, the information they're getting is. I feel the feelings, but I feel them in periphery to mine. They are not my feelings, and I don't hold on to them after. Um, and that's how I know I'm channeling because I have the memory of something that has been passed through, but I don't have the memory of something that has experienced that thing firsthand. Um, the types of things that I channel past life visions, I channel feelings, I channel what I see of the spirit that I see. Um, I channel auras. It's not auras in the sense of like an aura photo or even auras as in changing auras. It's usually kind of the innate color that a person was born with that doesn't really shift over time. And it usually is only a couple of colors. Um, Sometimes one color varying shades, sometimes an inner color and an outer color, but very rarely multiple colors. And sometimes, if the soul is in great distress, it does change to a darker color or more of a red. Um, but that is like that's an indication of a soul who's not able to really show their true aura because of what they're experiencing. So that's a bit of a different, different issue. I also channel what I'm being told. So directly. There are different ways to experience channeling. There's experiencing channeling in real time, where you are experiencing it in like actual human time. And then there is channeling where you just kind of know. It's not a conversation, there's no back and forth. You ask a question and you know the answer. It's like you're not in real time. Maybe in a different time and space, you are actually having a conversation of back and forth, but in the moment, it is simply just you asking questions and just having a knowing and moving through that knowing. Because not all spirits, especially since I work with spirit babies, not all spirits talk directly. A lot of my babies do talk, but not all of them. A lot of them show pictures or express feelings or shift how they're moving in their aura, or in their little spirit baby egg. A lot of people see spirit baby eggs as green. I see them as the aura color of the spirit baby. Green is the traditional color. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. You absolutely know you're working with spirit babies if they're in a green egg. I just tend to only see their color, which is also how I see people's birth charts. I tend to really focus in on like their moon rather than their sun. Um, so all of this is really, I personally think, based on your birth chart, personal experience, who prayed over you as a child. Um, I think one of the important things to know if you really feel called to channeling, but you don't know how, or you're at least not able to get a consistency, the consistency I think can be solved by working with spirits groups. You just have to be conscious about the ones you're working with and also know that they happen in the right time. Um, and then the other one is just a belief. You really have to believe in what you're doing. Um, Not as in like everyone needs to believe me type deal, but you need to trust your intuition, trust your inner knowing, trust things that you're hearing. Also, I've had to, excuse me, my phone's being, oh. Um, Also, I have had some really intense predictions slash information given to me, and I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I have to trust, especially if I pass that information once, being like, I don't know if this is something I should share. And Spirit is like, nope. I have to say, hey, this this is what they're telling me is going to happen. And you have to just take the responsibility that, things could change. You could be wrong, or, someone's self will could come in and shift the timeline because that absolutely can happen. it is not as simple as predicting the future. You're also dealing with the self will of everyone involved, including the spirits you're working with. So you have to be ready for things to change. You have to be ready for people to not be happy with you. Um, Depending on the person, I do sometimes selectively say something if, especially if I'm getting a lot of information, I will pick out the most important and trust that, you know, my skill set that I've been given is enough. Um, but I really do think, and this is not in like, I don't know, kind of self-righteous way or like a, oh yes, I am but a mere worm. It is very much, I feel deeply honored to be a channel. It's a really unique feeling to channel for people. Um, I get insight and information and allowed into really personal spaces that I feel really honored to enter into. Um, and I think one of the signs of true channeling is feeling that honor and being in really beautiful spaces and also not having any desire to violate it. Not being like, God, I gotta tell someone this later. And sometimes I will share a channeling experience very neutrally to kind of explain to someone something that I think they need to kind of see secondhand. But it's very selective and it's never in violation of the experience with those spirits. It's more for me to use as like an educational tool. And like I said, there's no tie back to who I'm talking about or what spirit it is. And I definitely never share names. It's just something I don't do. Same with my spirit guides. I don't share their names. It's not like the world will blow up if you do. It's just something that I find is really honoring, especially for someone who's really bad at keeping things to myself. But I have no problem in the channeling space keeping things to myself, which I think is proof that I meant to do it. Same with client space. I don't feel the need to air, client situations or stuff. And like I said, if I do share something as like an example to like help someone navigate something, it's always very neutral. Anyways, we're getting to the end of this. Like I said, this is my very unique individual experience. If you have any questions, I'm happy to help. Like I said, I offer readings that are that I was about to say supposed to help. No, they do help. I've genuinely helped people find their path or find the door to knock on in order to move their spiritual journey ahead. Um, all of this is very self-led. I don't think anyone can open it for you. Now they can help open a door. My friend attuned me to Reiki out of nowhere. That absolutely kicked this off. I do attribute um, my sudden kind of heightened ability and trust and connection to channeling to Reiki. I do think it's important not to go into getting Reiki seeking power, though. So if you do want to use Reiki to heighten your psychic skills, you also need to commit to being a Reiki healer and a Reiki teacher. And I had some people kind of freak out a little bit when I told them that. And you don't have to make it your job and you don't have to go out of your way to teach. It is when someone comes to you that needs it, you have to be willing to do it. And that needs to be part of your commitment, not just, I'm going to use Reiki to open up my psychic channels. That's exploitative and it's not honoring the gift that Reiki is. Same with the teaching. You don't have to teach someone, but if someone needs an attunement, you offer it to them. Um, and Reiki was my kind of kickoff into being able to clearly channel. The Reiki guides created an amazingly safe space for someone who was getting battered by the cosmos at the time. And I had to learn some really serious lessons even after about protecting myself. And the guides were never mad. They were more like massaging their temples and rolling their eyes because they're like, God, did they need to learn this? Why is this so hard for them? They were very kind about it though. Even though they were like, yeah, that's what happens when you talk to random spirits that you shouldn't and who are actually really scary and creepy looking. And you're like, but maybe they're kind inside. So yeah, Reiki is genuinely what got me kicked off on this. But what got me kicked off even earlier was astrology and tarot. You can also use tarot to channel as well. It's very helpful, especially if you have a client who needs the visibility and the tactile nature of the cards. I have literally been in readings where I'm pulling tarot cards, but I already know what needs to be said, and the cards end up expressing that. But it is funny because I have to slow down because I'm like, oh, I already know what the cards are going to say because I'm fully channeling right now. We're not waiting on the cards to give us a message. The cards and I are the message. So that can happen as well. And I also think tarot can be a really great way to enter the space, especially if you are cautious or unsure of yourself, to begin to build that kind of psychic trust by using symbols, by using tactile magic. Um, and also, this all took time. I didn't, like I said, some people are naturally born with it, but for me, who, while I was always incredibly intuitive and highly energetic and things like that, but I didn't have the access to these things, probably because people prayed over me a lot. Um, it did take time. It took 3 or 4 years to get to the space I needed to be in order to become a channel. And there were a lot of lessons I had to learn. So if you are struggling with being able to channel or really feel like channeling is something for you, just know that it takes time and it starts with that intention, that desire to channel. And also not letting yourself get discouraged, knowing that all of the twists and turns and the maybe roadblocks that you might be experiencing are things that have to be worked through in order for you to be a good channel, in order for you to be able to do what you need to do in the best way that you can. So don't get upset if the time hasn't happened yet. Don't get sad if it's not working out. I think the feeling for me before I was able to kind of open up stuff with Reiki was like being on the other side of a really thick, murky pane of glass, and I could almost see the imprints of hands and I could hear voices, but I couldn't get to them and I couldn't clearly hear them. And every once in a while, I'd have a really clear psychic experience where I had like connection, but I couldn't do it consistently and it wasn't functional. So just know that it is possible to learn to channel. I think it's less that you have to learn the actual stuff or you have to gain the energy, and it's more about the lessons you need to learn and the clearing of the space and the preparation for you. Like something that I had to have in place in order to do this was some kind of cleansing, some kind of physical cleansing, which was Reiki. I do aura cleanses. I also channel chi or ki to kind of clear my systems and unblock stuff. And like I said, to each their own, everyone has a different thing. But if you want to start channeling, you can start finding ways to cleanse your aura. You can start putting that intention out in the world. You can start reading things like tarot. You can look into Reiki. Like I said, please don't enter it with like, wahaha, I'm here to get psychic gifts, but come into it as I want a more open connection to the universe. And I'm willing to be in service to the Reiki and be in service as a channeler because you are in service. It is as a Virgo moon, Virgo rising, it is service for me at least. So you have to be ready to serve. And not all service is servitude. And I do not feel like I'm in servitude to the energy. I am in service of it. Anyways, like I said a while ago, I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any questions or your own spiritual channeling experiences, I would love to hear them. I find it fascinating. Like I said, I'm very aware that this is not how everyone experiences this, but if you're in a similar boat, maybe it can help you kind of shift into that. And like I said, you don't have to be able to channel to talk to spirits. You just might not be able to give it to other people. Um, I started to talk to spirits before I could channel. And that's also a first step to me. I think another really important step, which I kind of left out and I feel bad, and that's because I had some things shaken up and I had to put my ancestor pictures in a box for the time being. But ancestors, really great place to start. You can contact them through the tarot. You can just start talking to them. You can just start sharing things with them and don't even have to hear back yet. But I think ancestors are a great place to start. They're also a great place to start because they're also a part of undoing trauma and undoing um, toxic family dynamics and undoing learned hatred for other types of people and situations, and really recognizing where your family has come from and how, the places in which they have failed and the places in which they have succeeded. That is also a way to make yourself a really fabulous channel. is doing that kind of work. Also, something that I think is important for channeling, you have to care about the world around you. You have to be engaged. And I know there are channelers who don't, but I think if you want to be a good, honest, solid channeler, you need to care about the world. One of the tenets of Reiki I was taught was the desire to heal the world. And obviously, little old me cannot do that on my own, but a desire to set things right, a desire to resist oppression. Um, I think my personal activism, which is boycotting because I'm disabled, is boycotting and sharing and reposting and talking about the situations is essential to my spiritual practice. And it is essential to my channeling. My care for the universe opens me up to be in better service to the people that need me. So it might seem like it's not important, but who you care about, the causes that you're engaged in, absolutely directly impact your ability to be an open and empathetic vessel for this kind of work. All right, my loves, that is all I'm going to say officially. Like I said, pop any questions you have. Obviously, please like and subscribe. It makes my day. It also eventually will get my videos more seen. Um, I hope that this helped someone, and I will see you in a different space.